Hi, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of All Things Metaphysical podcast with Kelly and Gail. I'm very clearly going to get the names right going forward. This is episode 17. This is the week of Christmas for those of you who are celebrating Christmas. So it is a very interesting time of year right now. Last week, there were some glitches with people watching the podcast because there were some issues with Facebook where we stream live. So we'll see if anyone's able to watch today or not. If there's still the same glitches or same problems, we'll find out soon enough.
Yep.
So I think said we were going to talk about portals to start with today. That's such a big, broad topic. Is there anything about portals?
You know what? I always caution people about this, and I've already said it on the show a couple of times. Be careful with portals.
Mm-hmm.
If you find yourself in one, be calm. You know, sometimes people get stuck and you start panicking, and your panic and your fear open you up to not necessarily attack or attachment, but it can turn into that from negative entities. So you want to be really, really careful about how you're feeling and your energy, which is exactly the same as going into a haunted house, by the way, in case anybody wondered. But I know portals can be there and then they're not there. They're somewhere else. Haven't you found that to be the case?
I was just thinking about how, I call my artwork mandalas.
Mm-hmm.
But my artwork is really, I create energy portals that take you to a different time and space and help you to move to the new, wherever you need to go.
Right.
So I know that other like psychic people who've seen or intuitive people who've seen my artwork are like, these are not mandalas, these are energy portals. And I'm like, yeah, but the rest of the world isn't ready for me to say Gail Alexander energy portals. So
right.
they are mandalas for right now. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. If you have any questions today, please feel free to put them in the comments section and we will do our best to address them. So,
yeah, thanks for watching and for commenting so we know you're watching.
yes, we appreciate that. I think, though, the thing about portals for me is it's just a way to travel. It's a way to travel interdimensionally and multidimensionally.
Right.
You know,
Right. Yeah. But back to your mandalas, I think I've already told you this. I pick some of the ones you've done that are my favorites, and I use those as meditation points. And the reason I do that is because it does take you in, and you can solve all sorts of things through a mandala that's properly done. If you ever have the occasion to really investigate Indian mandalas, Hindu or Buddhist, you'll find that they feel very different than the ones that you do. Find the ones that resonate with you, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because if you just pick any one, you can go somewhere that you may not need to be. So be picky, be picky.
One of our viewers asked, is there a place where you can look at them or that you can find them? I know for me, like if you want to see mine, you can go to my website, gail-alexander.com, or you can look at my Facebook page, or Facebook group, my professional Facebook group, which is now No Nonsense Intuitive. And there's hundreds of them in the photo section.
Right.
From over the years. Right now, I'm posting wreath pictures that I drew last year. But what I did this year is I grouped them together and they seem so much more powerful. So one of the comments is one of our viewers was shown a portal for the first time on Monday. My guide explained it to me. I stuck my finger through it, but I didn't go through it. Wasn't real sure how to open it. It went away. So I've been told I can search for it. Nothing scary, very interesting. I told my guide they needed to give me a heads up about new stuff and not just drop them in on me.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by my portal. Yeah, you can create your own portals. You can do that. Be careful when you're doing it. Um, but in my experience, a portal doesn't necessarily belong to any one person. It's they're there. Usually, if a portal presents itself to you, you are supposed to walk through it, I think. I don't think it would be there if you were not. If you have the sight necessary to see a portal, you should investigate the portal.
Mhm.
The one the one caveat against that is if you get really, 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 really bad vibes from a portal, don't go in those. But if it feels peaceful, it feels calm, it feels like you are supposed to investigate it, do it. Or you would not have been given the sight to see them if you weren't meant to experience them.
The other thing that I think goes along a little bit with portals, and let me know what you think about this, is that sometimes you're just transported or
Right.
teletransported, like you're one, like almost like bilocating. You're one place and then you're in another dimension somewhere else doing something else. And so that can be scary for people as well. The first time that happens, it's like, how did I get here? And things like that. So just keep in mind that there's so many forces in the world right now and on both sides of the veil helping us to move beyond where we are. And if you find yourself someplace else that you don't recognize, just kind of look around. And when if it feels too scary or overwhelming, just say you want to go back to where you came from.
Right. I think that's one of the things that people get tripped up on is you can say, take me home, take me back, and they will. For some reason, humans have this fear mechanism that makes them shut down completely.
They're singing "Take Me Home, Country Roads"
Yeah,
right
I heard it when I said that.
now.
So, but
I'm going to be hearing that for the rest of the show now. Thank you very much.
thanks. But you can always talk to your guides and your angels and your helpers, wherever they come from. Don't think you can't. Sometimes we get paralyzed with fear. Just know, chill,
Well,
let
and I think that another thing that happens, kind of going along with this, but in a little bit different vein, is that we get new guides or new animal helpers at different times. And I know I was telling you about this. So after our show last week, I was trying to go to sleep, and there was a giraffe standing in my room. Now, that's not an animal I've necessarily connected with in the past. I usually work more with dolphins and whales and sea creatures than land-bound mammals, but really interesting messages because the giraffe proceeded to have a conversation with me for 15 minutes while I was trying to sleep. So, so it's just interesting, like if you're open enough, what's really around, what can come in, what's there to help us, and how to start to pay attention to those things.
I think a lot of it is probably always there. We
Mhm.
just don't notice it. We don't see it. Now, I know my own guides come and go, and I can see them coming and I can see them going. But for the most part, they're always around you.
Mhm.
Particularly the animal guides tend to stay closer to you
Yes,
than
I've
maybe
noticed that.
humans. Yes. Have you? You good.
It's kind of new for me, but I have noticed the giraffe has been hanging out with me since last week. Now the giraffe is bringing some of his friends with.
Of
It's a him. I
course.
know it's a him because he gave me his name. So just it's really interesting to me. I mean, I could talk to animals before, but it's just I've never gotten like spirit animal guides before.
Yeah.
So that other than dolphins and whales. So that's really interesting to me.
It's expansion.
Hmm.
You have the birds too. So,
Yeah.
you're covering, all your bases, which
Apparently,
is
yes. I'm not getting any more like angels or things like that. Now I'm getting animals.
mhm. See, I did it backwards. I had the animals first,
Hmm.
but it's interesting. And I think going along with portals, some of those animal guides are intended to help you journey, whether it's through a portal, whether it's a shamanic journey, whether it's whatever kind of journey you take. They're meant to go with you to protect you and give you information you need. Because believe me, sometimes you get out there and you're like, oh, hey, I could sure use some advice right now. And that's what they're for.
It's really interesting as you say that, and we talked a little bit about this, is that I had to make a really big decision last week. And the giraffe, what the message was for me is that I needed to see it from above because giraffes are so tall
Yep.
and not get caught in the minutia and the level where everybody else is. I needed to transcend that and look down on it to see a whole different perspective. And I
Yep.
thought that that was so true and so fitting for the situation that I was in at the time.
Yeah, it's amazing what a different perspective can do.
Mhm.
And it really is. A lot of times when I get caught, focusing on things like, falling into barbed wire fences, that kind of stuff, usually a bird or a hawk, if it's at night, an owl, a big bird, a large bird will fly over me and kind of circle, going, hello, you're not paying attention. And, that's always my whole life. That's the way it's happened. So they come at different times when you need them.
Mhm.
It's interesting. Now you'll be able to call in your animals.
And we were joking around that pretty soon I'm going to have a whole zoo.
Yes.
I'm going to have a metaphysical zoo. That's kind of fun to think about. I won't be allergic to any of them.
Right. It's perfect. The perfect pets. Perfect. Someone mentioned the full moon.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, they said the full moon was wow. Yeah, it was an intense one.
Hmm.
Um, it kind of increases the solstice energy, or at least it does around here where I
Hmm.
am. I felt it loud and clear. It also, oddly enough, or not oddly enough, affected the two puppies that I have. And it is the first time I've heard either one of them actually throw their head back and howl. And it
Hmm.
was so funny because I had them outside under the full moon for their last potty break. And all of a sudden there's this little tiny from this little puppy. And it was just hilarious. But yeah, the full moon intensifies the solstice energy, which is kind of going along with changes as we go into the new year.
Hmm.
It's sort of introspection and, going inside yourself and just being who you are right now and setting intentions for how you want to grow into the new year. And that was what I was taught when I was much, much, much younger was when you have a full moon around either the winter solstice or the summer solstice, it really amps up the energy and makes it more timely that you actually ride that energy and actually do what you're supposed to do. A lot of times people they use the expression, well, I missed the boat. No, you didn't. This is sort of like your redo. If you feel like you've made some kind of error or whatever it was this year, this is your time to kind of say, okay, I've learned that lesson. It's my intention to move forward. I'm not going to repeat that. Or it's my intention as I move forward, I'm going to be more mindful or whatever it is for you. But yeah, never underestimate the power of a full moon around a solstice. It's very powerful.
It was very intense energy yesterday.
Yeah.
And it feels almost like when we moved into today that lots of things broke loose. Like we had to feel that intensity yesterday and feel
Yeah.
it building and building. And in order to get to where we are, one of my favorite analogies that I used to use all the time when I was a therapist, if you'll humor me for a minute, one of my favorite movies was Willy Wonka when I was little. And at the end of Willy Wonka, they're in the Wonkavator and they've pressed every button but the red one. And they're like, and he's like, they press it, and then he's like, "We've got to gain up speed. We've got to get up speed. We've got to get up speed because they're going to crash through the glass ceiling. And if they don't have enough speed, they're going to get shredded." To me, that was a lot like what yesterday was about. It was like building and building and building. So kind of like with the giraffe too, that it was about, okay, you're crashing through this. Now you have a whole new view.
Yeah. Yeah, very much. Yeah. Yep. I did hear an audible pop right after midnight, and that was my sign. Okay, we're here now. It's interesting when you start working with guides and when you start hearing them answering your questions. And I don't know how I got on the subject. Somebody just told me to talk about it, so I'm going with it. Sometimes that can be a scary experience for people. And I know a whole bunch of people just like that had that ability overnight. And it was sort of a trial by fire for a lot of people where, okay, you're doing this now. And I know I've coached a lot of people and I've taught spirituality for a long time. And I've never felt anything like I feel lately. And it's like I feel people all of a sudden like a light bulb turning on. And it was just such a exhilarating feeling for me. And I really hope that all of these people don't get scared off by it and they, work through it.
One of our viewers wants the Metaphysical Zoo.
Yeah, I would like that one myself. I do have a wide collection of animals that accompany me on shamanic journeys, and they're all, a funny thing happens in other dimensions. What can be a giraffe in this dimension can have a shorter neck and horns in another dimension. So it's those other dimensions that send me animals for journeys.
So for you, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, and I'm going to make you promote yourself a little bit because I just keep seeing elephants around you.
Yeah.
There's a herd of elephants around you right now. So can you talk a little bit about that and promote yourself a little bit?
Several years ago, I had this dream about an elephant was talking to me. But the elephant was talking to me about a little girl. And I'd been having dreams about a little girl in the jungle. And I'm like, why am I dreaming about a little girl in the jungle? Oh, that would make a really cute book. So I started writing it out. And then the elephants kept appearing. And I'm like, all right, little girl in the jungle likes elephants. Okay, fine. And then I did some research. I have a grandson who is deaf. And I kept getting images of this little girl using her hands to talk. And I thought, okay, she's deaf. And then I read about the plight of the Asian elephant. The Asian elephants in Thailand will be completely extinct within the next decade. And that just breaks my heart anytime any animal is in distress. So I wrote this book. The elephant told me the little girl's name was Laylee. And I wrote this series of books called Laylee and the Elephants. And it's about a little girl in Thailand who happens to be deaf and happens to devote her life to saving elephants. So that's what the whole elephant thing with me is, although I've always loved elephants.
So where can people find that book?
Amazon's probably the easiest way. It's just really Laylee and the Elephants with several books out. Yep.
I recommend reading it. It's a really cool story.
Well, and my deaf grandson likes them. So that's, to me, that's all I needed to hear. That's perfect.
Yeah, you're with elephants. I kind of have the same thing with unicorns.
Yeah, it's interesting how animals choose us. Most of my life, it's been frogs with me. And I don't know why exactly, other than when I grew up in the South, I would say deep south, but maybe not quite deep south. So it was always warm. We had lots of frogs and lots of bugs and, you know, lots of that subtropical climate stuff. And frogs always found me. I could be sitting on a bench eating lunch at school and there would be a frog. And, you know, I could be riding my bike and a frog would hop across the street. It was just ridiculous how frogs were always around me. So I decided I really liked frogs. And I've had many. I have frogs now around here that, well, of course, where I live now, they hibernate. But every summer I am inundated with frogs. So frogs and elephants. You know, I've had the normal cat, dog, horse, rabbit, goat, whatever, you know, farm animals. But the more exotic animals have always sought me out too. Lately, I have an owl, which is very cool.
Wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah. And she has, I know it's a female owl because she told me, and she has a weird hoot. She doesn't hoo. She's more like yup, yup. I'm like, that's an owl making that noise? Because I kept hearing it. And I went outside and there's this ginormous great horned owl. And then she looked right at me and leaned forward on her branch and made that noise. I'm like, I don't think you're a physical owl. But she's here. So, but yeah, that's what happens in other dimensions is they take characteristics of different animals that they think you need and mold them all together. So
Always interesting.
yeah.
So if you guys are watching and you have comments, please write the comments or questions down in the comments section. We will continue to check on that. I think that there's also very interesting energy with the holidays approaching and what that means to so many people. And, you know, the fact that the virus is making a comeback right now and what that means and what that's bringing up for people and the fear that's being elicited and the unsafe feeling that a lot of people have again. You know, I was just thinking about all of that today.
It's fear
Hmm.
that is aiding the virus. It's feeding on the fear of
Hmm.
people. And I, what do you do about it? You can only tell people so much. And then you're just like, all right, fine, go with it. Ignore me. That's okay. You know, it's, yeah, it's no longer troubling for me.
Hmm.
Either fortunately or unfortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, it has become sort of amusing to me because my reality is not necessarily everyone else's. And I see things that a lot of people don't see. And I'm like, yep, I told you, look, there it is, you know. And I've just kind of taken a step back. And instead of trying to explain to people that their fear is what is feeding the virus, I've just been, yeah, I don't know, you figure it out. Because I'm kind of, it has lost my interest. I'll say it that way.
Well, I think too, sometimes people who are really empathic take it on to try and transmute it as well.
Yeah.
And try and help that way. I mean, I think there's so much to it on so many different levels, and it's not just the physical level and what it does to the physical body. It's what it's doing to consciousness. It's what it's doing to humanity. It's what it's doing on so many different levels. No
Yep.
idea we were going to talk about this today, but it's kind of interesting.
Well, I have had so many conversations with people over you can't make someone get a vaccine they don't want to get. You can't, you know, tell everyone around you, this happened actually, that this person's a horrible person because they didn't get a vaccine. None of that, get it, don't get it. That is not going to make the ultimate difference. What is going to make the ultimate difference, take care of yourself, stop feeding the fear. And people always, well, you're just that crazy lady that lives in the middle of nowhere and has all those animals. Yep, that's me. Okay, fine. You know, do it, don't do it. But when you tell someone several times, this is what's going to happen if you do this, and they laugh at you, and then they do it, and then it happens. when they come back and ask me for healing, I'm a little less than enthusiastic. You know, it's it has become a situation that I just had to take a step back from. And I just, it was affecting me on a level that I didn't like, and when it's influencing my energy, I realize that maybe I don't need to put energy out in this direction anymore. Maybe I've put enough out in this direction. Maybe I need to take a step back and say, no, 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 not going there anymore. This is, oh, I'm over here now. And when I say things like that, people just go, what?
I also want to talk a little bit about it too from the perspective of the ascension process,
Mm-hmm.
because there are so many people who've lost their lives. And I think sometimes when we say choice, no choice, get the shot, don't get the shot, I mean, I think that a lot of this is coming to the surface right now because you okay? As a humanity, we have to make choices about
Sorry,
what we see for ourselves and what direction we see ourselves going in.
I can't drink cold water. Sorry.
So I think that, I'm really saddened by the amount of people who've lost their lives to this
Right.
virus, and it has been a pretty horrific thing. And there's been families that have gone through so much horror and things like that. So I just want to balance it out a little bit in that it's all true. It's all just, it's like to think about it like a pie, and there's lots of pieces to this pie. It's not just one thing. It's not the pie as a whole. You can take out the separate pieces of it and examine those and look at them. And then if you put it back together, it may not fit back together in the same exact way.
Right.
And so I think it's really important that, just that we look at it from all different sides. There's so many frustrations, both sides, whether you want the vaccine, don't want the vaccine. I think there's merit on both sides. I think science does speak, and I think there's some importance to that. I also believe that people deserve to make their own decision. The problem that I have is people who try and force you to make a decision
Right.
one way or the other.
Right.
You know, and being that I work in healthcare, I wasn't really. I was told I had to get the
Right.
vaccine, and
Right.
as some of you know who know me, I'm allergic to the free world, so I was a little nervous getting the vaccine as to what was going to happen. Was I going to go into anaphylactic shock, which I've had reactions before to things, and I had some weird side effects from it. But it was also my mindset going into getting it, that prepared me to manage it all too. So your thought process and your ideas around things impact
Yep.
everything. And I think that's what you are ultimately getting to is
Right.
just what our thoughts create actions. And
Right.
so what we think brings those circumstances in those situations to us.
Right.
I always go back to the movie, I think it's What the Bleep Do You Know? I think that was the one where there's like this tribe on the sand, and they're looking out and they can see ripples in the water, but they've never seen a boat before. So
Right.
they don't know to see a boat. And then they stared at it long enough that it came into their consciousness of what it was, but they had no idea what they were looking for. So they didn't see it originally because they
Right.
had no thought about what a boat was. So it's just, it's interesting. I think that was from What the Bleep Do You Know?
I think it was.
And then the guy with the parking tickets, he was so afraid that he was going to get parking tickets that he kept getting parking tickets because your thought process oftentimes creates sometimes your reality. So really starting to look at that. And I think that is, as a humanity, what we need to focus on. What collectively are we putting out there that then we're creating all these things? Our
Well,
viewer said, I love the bleep.
yes. I think we create everything. I think we are self-actualizing beings. And if you're sitting there and you're saying, well, the vaccine's going to make me sick, guess what? The vaccine's going to make you sick. And Um, I've always felt that this virus was the result of fear. It's the result of hate. It's the result of divisiveness.
Mhm.
And until humanity figures out that we are creating our own reality, it's not ready to go away. It's not going to let go until enough people see it for what it is. And that's the part that I've really taken a giant step back from, because for well, I was traveling in 2020 when it started, but I spent hours meditating on, let's cure this virus, let's, heal it, and the messages I kept getting out or getting back was, until humanity realizes this is a fear-based thing, it's not going to go away.
Mhm.
And what I have seen, I do honestly think it will go away in 2022, but it's a fear thing. And we are, especially this time of year going, holiday season, we are very much a fear-based society. We're
You
just,
Sorry to interrupt,
no,
but
it's
I
okay.
was looking through my Facebook, and one of my things that was blocked, I didn't even know any of my posts were blocked, but there was one that was blocked, and it was from Sylvia Brown, from one of her books from 15 years ago, where she predicted there would be a virus that hit, and it would hit the respiratory system, and it would, like, destroy humanity and stuff, and then as quickly as it came, it went away.
Yep.
And so, I mean, that's always been in, like, the back of my head, and I know a lot of people have said she wasn't legitimate, she wasn't this, regardless of that, she put it in a book a long time
Right.
ago as a
Right.
future prediction, and she got the year right, she got everything right about it, so, you know, who's the joke on now? I mean, that everyone thought she was crazy at the time when she said that, and, same thing with Nostradamus and things like that, a lot of his predictions were crazy, and, Edgar Casey, the sleeping prophet, so I think it just depends on where your belief system falls and what you believe to be true and what resonates with you. I think for myself, I've never been one to have to make people believe what I believe, but I can sit and have a conversation with someone who has the opposing ideas that I do. I mean, I think that that's an interesting conversation, and I
Yep.
don't feel the need to convert them. I know a lot of times I have conversations with people who try and convert me over to their side, and their belief system doesn't usually work, but I have had lots of conversations like that, and I just, again, think it comes down to what is true for you? What are your beliefs, and what is the philosophy that you boy, I'm getting deep. What
Yeah.
is the philosophy that you live your life by?
Right.
What do you hold to be true? What are your values? What are your, here's my coaching stuff coming out. I apologize for that, but it's just, how do you want to live your life?
Yeah.
Whose ideas do you want to believe? What resonates with you? What doesn't resonate with you? I find the less TV I watch on,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
commercials and stuff like that, the happier I am.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yep.
And I stopped watching the news years ago because I couldn't literally stomach it. I figure if something's really important, someone's going to tell me. Or psychically, I've gotten the message a lot of times before people actually tell me what's going on. So, yeah. What do
Yeah.
you think? I kind of went on a diatribe about that. So, what do you think
No, it
about
was good. Um, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, there are, and this is how I have addressed Sylvia Brown in the past. Everyone I know, and I truly believe everyone has some psychic abilities.
Mhm,
How you use it, whether or not you develop it, that's entirely up to you.
mhm,
But like we were talking on another show about getting readings that are different from different people, it's kind of the same thing.
mhm,
I don't think that she was a crazy woman any more than I am, but then again, maybe I am. I don't know. Yeah. But everyone sees to the depth of their ability.
mhm,
And I think maybe her ability sometimes, I think she was trying to force it.
mhm,
That's just what I feel. I think she was trying to force it. Um, I've studied a lot of Edgar Casey's um, stuff. And it's fascinating. But again, no one is on 100% of the time. And I think where a lot of people go haywire is when they do try to force the issue.
Mhm.
So, I take him especially with a grain of salt just because of my own studies, and things that I've been taught. But again, he was right on a lot of the time.
The first talk I ever gave was at the Edgar Casey Center. It was the
Cool.
first professional talk I ever gave, so I bought a bunch of books, and I remember opening one of the books, and there was a picture of a heart and lungs,
Hmm.
and I'm like, "Oh my god, they've encoded it. They encoded our angel wings in our bodies."
Yeah.
And so when you like look at things from a different, I mean, it was just came through so clear. When you look at the heart and how the lungs go around the heart, it's very much like a
Yep.
body with wings, and it's just like, oh my god, that's so we don't forget. We don't forget, what a possibility of where we could have come from.
And yet we do anyway. So, it's, I haven't watched news in years and years and years. And every once in a while, I will get such a clear vision of something.
Hmm.
And, then I'll look at social media and look, hey, wait, there it is, exactly the way I saw it. So I really think if we want to, we
Hmm.
can tune into everything. I think a lot of us tend to block it sometimes. We
Hmm.
get so single-minded in me, mine, that kind of thing that we temporarily forget that we are connected to everything else.
Hmm.
So, when I was younger, my daughter was very, very close to one of my sisters. And we were in California, they were in Texas. And she would stop and she would say, okay, okay, okay. And I'd be like, what? She goes, I need to call Rebecca when we get home because this, and she'd spell it all out. And they'd be on the phone for hours later on. And I had that with one of my cousins when we were younger.
Hmm.
As we've grown up, sometimes I can still feel him, but it kind of, goes away. If you don't use it, you kind of lose it. But when we forget that we are truly connected with everything, when we get into that, I'm right here. This is my little, world. That's when we get into trouble
Hmm.
because you can isolate yourself, and then you get this wild thought and go, huh, okay, well that's why nobody's around me because of this, and you're wrong. They're not around you because you have told them to go away. You cannot bring people closer to you and push them away at the same time. So, but that was kind of a side tangent there. Thank you very much. um, it, it it's very individual
Hmm.
whether you listen to a psychic and believe them or whether you listen to the news and believe it. It's a really personal thing. But I will tell you, the happiest people I know don't watch the news, and they don't get into the pull of politics or science or whatever, religion, whatever you want to talk. They don't get drawn into it. So maybe that's something to think about right now. While I know so many people who have different beliefs in their family, and yet they're going to their family for a holiday, and they're calling me going, what do I do? Well, I wouldn't go, but that's me. Why would you knowingly walk into a fight? I wouldn't do it. But so now they're beating themselves up for saying they should go or should they stay, or that whole thing. And it's up to you. You have to look inside yourself,
Hmm.
and what do I want to experience? And if you're going to a place where there's going to be a potential for some arguing, decide beforehand there's not going to be any. There's not going to be any arguing. I'm not going to engage. It's going to be fine. And then you'll have a much better experience. Are we done?
Yes, in psychology terms, and especially DBT, we would call that coping ahead.
Yeah.
Plan ahead for what might actually happen. Because what's the famous quote? I think it's William James, "Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't,
You're
you're
right.
right."
Yeah,
And then there's always Yoda, "Do or do not, there is no try."
yeah, yeah.
So, a couple of my favorites there. My favorite quote to live by is by Soren Kierkegaard, a Swedish philosopher, and it's something to the effect of life must be lived forwards and only understood backwards. And once you realize that, or people have talked about it, life gives you the test first and then you learn the lesson. Is that oftentimes we're going to be in situations where we don't understand things, and it's probably not going to be till way afterwards that it all makes sense. But there's a reason that we went through all of it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think too many people are trying to control too much right now.
Mhm.
And it's a lot. My grandmother used to tell me life will get a lot easier for you when you realize you not have to go up the stream. You know, it's like you can flow sometimes, and because I was very stubborn as well, I'm still very stubborn, but I would it had to be done my way, my way, my way as a child, and she would tell me, this has already been done. You can just look at how somebody else did it successfully. You can flow downstream instead of being fighting to go upstream. It's like I'd rather fight to go upstream and do it myself. But that's what a lot of people are doing. It feels like when I feel into the collective, and these days I really try to stay out of that, but it's very tangled. It's like a massive ball of yarn that six kittens have had their way with for about a week. And it's not my job to untangle it. It's just you look at it and go, you know what? I don't need to feel this right now. Bye bye. And back up. And I think if everybody did that, uh, we'd be a lot further along.
So we're kind of getting close to we've been trying to keep the shows at a certain time. Is there anything you want to say to kind of wrap up today? First, thank you for all who are watching us live and for all your comments and questions. It's always helpful. And we, of course, have had another show where we have been all over the place and
Oh,
talked about a variety of different topics.
yeah. I've had a lot of help today. It has not been me the entire time. It's be kind to yourselves. I know I say that a lot, but really don't engage in some unnecessary and futile arguments. You are never going to change anyone's mind. Let it go.
And I guess I would just like to wrap up first wishing everyone who's celebrating, I guess I would like to say joyful holiday season. I don't know if it's going to be that, but that's my wish for everyone that it is. And that to just kind of roll with it and not everything is yours to fix. And we all go into family situations with stuff that in our roles of what we were like in our families growing up, we don't have to do that as adults anymore. You can pick a different role now.
Yeah.
Your family might not like it, but you can pick a different role. So I just
Yeah.
wish anyone who's traveling, I wish safe travels for. And we will still be doing a show next week. So we will see some of you back next week. Have a great rest of your day and happy or Merry Christmas if you're celebrating Christmas. And we'll be back next week. Oh, a big orb just went down as I said
You've
that.
had several. See, your family just came to see you. Yeah.
So, all right, everybody, we'll see you back again really soon. Take care.
Bye.